for approving the meeting minutes from August 12th, 2024, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? None? Okay.
Seconded. Yeah. Sorry, thank you. We were muted.
Anything from the tree board members today? Anything either? Managers report.
I can start, and then if Brian has anything to add. So the climate element of the comprehensive plan, you all requested that I provide an update on that at every meeting. I am working on what I think is the last version, incorporating some edits from some public comment that we heard at Planning Commission about 2 weeks ago, as well as some requests from 2 of our council members. No substantial changes to trees. It's mostly additions related to city operations. So that's moving forward, and it'll go forward with the rest of the comprehensive plan package. We're keeping the website for the comprehensive plan update up to date, so you can follow a calendar there and look at the most recent drafts on the city's website if you'd like. Update on the Davis Meeker Gary Oak. We have a contract with Todd Prager and Associates to develop a detailed scope of work for us to then go to bid with companies, arborist companies that will actually do the physical work. Todd Prager does not do the hands-on work, does consulting with their brain, not their hands. They use both, but they focus on not cutting. So he's working on a detailed work specification for us so we can go out to bid, as well as helping us get permitting through Department of Archaeological Historic Preservation. We need a new permit to do the work. And our goal is to do the pruning in the winter, but to have all of those details written out in the spec as well as the long-term management plan for the tree. I think I've provided an email since our last meeting that the approved street tree list is indeed approved. You all approved it, the city departments approved it, and now it is on the website as our live list. And Brian has been using that with any calls that he's been getting from members of the public who are doing removal or replacement or just planting. And then the last update that I have, really something that Brian's better to speak at about the saplings for the Davis Meeker Gary Oak. We've been distributing them, and I'll let him take it away from there and any other updates that you want to provide.
Yeah, so I've distributed to the Wolfhaven National down in Tenino. I've given a couple to the state. Our Parks Department took a couple, and the Tamar School District took one. I do have quite a few left, and I'm looking to a few other organizations in the area and just kind of figuring out how many they want, if they want them. But we got, I don't know, maybe 20 left, not even. And then other updates, as far as big projects I'm working on, I'm sure everyone's slightly curious. Right now I'm working on a kind of a comprehensive detailed inventory of all the trees in the city that are city responsibility. So actually figuring out how many of each species we have on every road that we're responsible for, getting hard counts, so we can then begin to actually do a street tree inventory update, but first understanding the scope of what we have. So. Any questions for me?
How big are the saplings?
You know, they're only, I mean, a year old, so
okay.
Real little. You know, not very big at all. A couple of them might be a foot tall.
Okay.
You know, they're small. So.
Little oak babies.
Yeah, I'm gonna try to move them all this fall though. We don't have a whole lot of room for them, so.
If you have organizations that you as tree board members would like to recommend that we reach out to, that's within, please make recommendations and we'll do what we can. We did have a list of folks that we were reaching out to. Some have not been really responsive, so perhaps if you have connections with some organizations that do restoration around town, town being the region, please let us know. Waiting members of the public.
Is there a cost or a budget number associated with the scope of work for the?
To develop the scope and do the permit assistance.
Plus more, they're not worried
about the actual work.
Yeah.
Yeah. We don't know yet.
Okay.
The city council allocated up to $55,000 for the work on the tree. They're probably going to have to increase that because the contract with Todd Prager to develop the work spec and the permitting is $30,000. And we're still working on determining the actual funding source for that work, since there wasn't funding set aside for that necessarily. The council, I think, will be figuring out where they would like that to come from, since it's a council directive to do that work.
And as far as the comprehensive street tree, or just comprehensive tree inventory, does that include trees that are like missing or down, or? is
Yes.
that just-
Yeah, I'm counting every single place that should have a tree.
Public comment. Just
Welcome.
state your name and your address, please.
I will do that, but I'm gonna come over here where everybody can see me.
Okay.
Check
So-
online.
Do you
Is
wanna
that all
vote
right?
for- Yeah,
Yeah.
we have mics.
You have a
Mike, do you
mic?
wanna vote for?
Oh,
Give me a mic? Oh,
There you go.
Can you hear me now?
I believe so.
All right, so I'm Charlotte Persons, and I'm here basically work with the Conservation Committee of what used to be Black Hills Audubon Society, is now called South Sound Bird Alliance, because Mr. Audubon was a slave man. So we changed the name, not all chapters have, but a little at a time that's happened. And I'm also with Restoring Earth Connections, and, I was a member of the Tree Stakeholders Group in 2023, and we were all excited about your writing your new tree codes, and then a number of things have interfered. So now I think you're back on track, and I understand the schedule. And I just want to tell you that we're very excited that you're back on schedule, and when you start working on it, we will definitely be showing up and writing comments. So we will do our thing. But you reminded me that one of the things that interfered was the Wildland Urban Interface Code. Remember that? And the kind of weird way it was written that would have required the cutting of a lot of trees. Okay, and so, Black Hills Audubon Society, you should know what happened. I'm gonna brag a little bit. Do I have a time limit? No?
To the chair.
Okay. I'm gonna brag a little bit. Black Hills Audubon Society and Restoring Earth Connections were very busy in trying to get a better wildland urban interface. And, one of the things we did was we went to every meeing of the State Building Code Council, and we wrote comments, and we provided experts, wild forest fire experts, and we did all that kind of work. And then we also went to the state legislature out there. And as a result, right now, we have a very weird, well, I would say kind of weird, a weird version of the wildland urban interface code, because there's no map where it applies. And the Department of Natural Resources is supposed to be working on that. And the last time they provided a map, basically, it was going to apply to all of western Washington, where all these trees are supposed to be cut, and almost nothing in eastern Washington. So it was very kind of weird, because if you think about where our wildfire risk is greatest, at the top. And it also was going to require a lot of cutting of trees in cities. So, which is also weird, because cities have fire departments and hydrants, right? And we hope that if there are any wildfires, that they will be contained that way. It's small towns that get swept up in the wildfires with the really high winds that are at risk. So anyway, just to let you know, that's the work we've done, and we'll continue to do. It was hard for us too, because we were really happy to be starting to work on something proactive, a tree code that would protect bigger trees and more trees, and then to have to, drop all that and do all that reactionary, but anyway, the other thing is that meanwhile, the county has passed a tree code, which is one of the best in the state for protecting trees. And you might wanna have a look at that while we're working on it.
We have to know that the person who wrote that code is the person that we stole from the county, who will be leading the project for our tree code here in Tumwater.
Oh,
What is that person's name?
Dana Bowers, I
Oh,
wrote
that's
her.
Dana Bowers.
Yep.
Oh, she's the one. Okay, great, okay. Anyway, yeah, because they had a consultant that was also good. So, we're so excited to get back to work on this. All right. Nice to talk to you. I'm gonna leave because I don't think the rest of your meeting is that interesting, unless you say, oh, no, Charlotte, you want to stay.
We are going to have a presentation from our GIS staff on our tree canopy assessment. We have new data.
Okay, is that online somewhere?
It is online.
Okay, then I'm not gonna stay.
Thank you. Thank you.
Okay. I don't think I said where I was from. I actually live in Olympia, but signed in to all that information out.
Thurston County tree? That's
Water.
what we're, no, but that's what we're stopping, or?
So they worked on that, kind of while we were in our waiting phase. Theirs is a forest land conversion ordinance. It happened after we stopped work on ours, so whether or not that's incorporated hasn't happened yet, but, the person who was writing it, that person at Water, who will be taking the code back up, so I'm sure she learned some good lessons.
Yeah, right. Yeah. Nightmare.
Sounds very complicated, and I know that our most recent draft, which is old at this point, of the 16.08, the Tree and Vegetation Protection Ordinance, it was constantly crashing on my computer because it was so large and full of changes. It was more than 50.
Right. Okay, all right.
Let's see, public comment out of the way, tree canopy assessment update.
So we have our two full-time GIS staff here to provide presentation and answer any, Georgie and Jen. Feel free to introduce yourself more.
Yes, thank you for having us. I am Jennifer Radcliffe. I am the GIS manager for the city of Tumwater.
And I'm Georgiana Hupp. I'm the GIS analyst for the city of Tumwater.
And we're here to talk to you about the 2025 tree canopy cover assessment. So as some background, the definition, or our definition of canopy cover, comes from the Urban Forestry Management Plan, which was adopted back in March of 2021. And it's basically all of the trees and vegetation in the urban growth area and the city limits. So any trees, vegetation, street trees, native forests, landscaping on private property, parks, all of it. So as part of that urban forestry management plan, we did a baseline tree canopy assessment back in 2020, so we could have a starting point, a place to compare to, and to set some goals from. So this is just the baseline. We divided it up by, it's kind of a combination of zoning and land use, and I'll just refer to it as zoning from here on out, but we calculated the total acreage in each zone and the total acreage of canopy within each zone to come up with a percentage, and then the people who wrote the UFMP, or Urban Forestry Management Program plan, came up with these goals of what each area should have. So this was done for several reasons. Each zone district has different policies and regulations governing the type and intensity of development that can occur in that area, that allows the city to meet a range of legislative and strategic priorities or policies by establishing different canopy cover goals in each of these different areas. It's used as a measure of progress for the USMP. It's used to provide policy guidance for the Tumwater Municipal Code amendments related to street trees, protection of trees and vegetation, and landscaping, and establishes minimum requirements and standards for development and redevelopment of individual properties in the city as they relate to the urban and community forest. And as one of the actions coming out of the USMP was to redo this tree canopy assessment every 5 years and compare, get new numbers, see how we're doing against the baseline and our goals. So I'm going to turn it over to Georgie. She's going to talk about how we actually did the tree canopy.
So everyone can see. Thanks. So I am going to give an overview of how this is actually done. We have roughly 10 steps, and I will go through them each one by one on the next slides. But first, I wanted to go over a few words that I will be using, just so that we're all on the same page. I will interchangeably refer to rasters as images and back and forth. A raster is a type of image file. Image segmentation is done to group similar pixels together. Training samples tell our machine learning classifier what pixels are equivalent to what objects on the photo. An accuracy assessment compares the classified value, so what the machine learning model thinks is on a photo, with what's actually there. And a confusion matrix identifies how accurate our machine learning classifier actually is. So those terms will pop up as we go through the next set of slides, and you feel free to stop me if you have any questions. It's gonna stop me. And next, okay. So our first step was to purchase some high resolution imagery. We ended up purchasing a Maxar 19-inch resolution imagery that was captured in April of this year. Generally, late spring and summer are the best times for imagery for determining tree canopy cover due to what we call leaf-on conditions, where the trees have started producing their leaves, specifically the deciduous trees, of course. Yeah. Can I bring this back, you think? You think it'll work? Oh my gosh. Oh, I don't know what happened.
Wait, try this.
I do know how to use computers, I promise. So our next step is to segment an image, and this actually consists of 3 pieces. So image segmentation is basically grouping like pixels or like colors, is another way you can think about it, together, just so it's easier for our machine learning model to identify the differences between things. But we do have 3 parts. We have spectral detail, spatial detail, and minimum segment size. And over here, I have a screenshot from the last time that we did this. So this is 5 years ago, just to show you, I see that it's very hard to see. But there are 3 different sliders here, and spectral detail and spatial detail are almost all the way to the max, and then minimum segment size is right near the bottom. So spectral detail is used to distinguish between, features that have similar characteristics like grass and deciduous trees. Spatial detail shows the importance of space between features. So this helps the classifier determine if this phone thing is the same as my cell phone. So just how important is space between different features. And we have a very high value here. It's value of 19 out of 20 because most of the features in our aerial photos are grouped very close together. So you'll have trees right next to grass and similar things like that. And then finally, minimum segment size is kind of like the absolute minimum grouping threshold. So I have it set pretty low. That means that any segments or pixels that are smaller than that value, which is set at 20, are grouped together. And this way you kind of avoid something that's a little bit too detailed, takes longer to train, takes longer to classify. So step 3, this is kind of a fun one for me because I just get to draw a bunch of boxes and shapes on an image, but we create training samples. So what we do is we train our machine learning classifier to identify 6 different categories of land cover. That would be tree canopy cover, non-canopy vegetation, soil and dry vegetation, buildings, other impervious surfaces like roads, and water. So you can kind of see, different colors here, and then you'll see these represented on the map. So every different color represents a different sample. We provide the highest proportion of samples for tree canopy cover to ensure that there is enough statistical significance for that class for the model to recognize. So again, I'll zoom in here. Tree canopy cover has 469 actual samples or boxes drawn, and that works out to about 77% of the total pixels. So step 4 is train using support vector machines, which is our chosen machine learning model for classification. We train using support vector machines with a supervised object-based classification. Support vector machines is a machine learning model that is noted for its high accuracy. And supervised classification allows the user, which is generally me, to define training samples, which you saw in the previous slide. And object-based classification groups similar pixels together, just like segmentation, into like groups, which avoids a salt and pepper or a sprinkling effect that can happen with other types of classification. So this is actually one of the final images, but I just threw it on here because it looks cool. But that's the result that you'll get from training the classifier. So step 5 is one of the most important, and that is performing an accuracy assessment. So this is how you can see how well your model actually did at determining different land cover types. An accuracy assessment is a set of randomly generated points with equal numbers for each class or category of data. This is used to compare the accuracy of the classified image with what is actually shown in the purchased image. And you'll see here, classified, and this is ground truth. So that's our actual image that we bought. A value of 6 in the classified image is equal to water, and I go through and I input what the value actually is on the image, exactly where that point is. That was also 6 water. And that is specifically for this point right here. Yeah. So this is the confusion matrix. This is a section of the confusion matrix. And I will keep it very simple because it can get very complicated. But the confusion matrix essentially describes how accurate your classification was. So in order to populate the confusion matrix, you have to complete an accuracy assessment first. Then you will fill in all of these little boxes, and at the end of that, we specifically look at how accurate our model was at identifying tree canopy cover. Oh, okay. And then step 7 is repeat steps 4 through 7 until a high accuracy classification is achieved. And that is a process that I repeated a lot this year.
Thank you.
Yeah, no problem. So step 8, we have our final results, and you saw this in a previous slide, but once you have a classification that is high enough accuracy, then you have your final results and you celebrate. It comes through like this. It is still an image or a raster file. So that's a little bit hard for us to work with for what we need to do. So our next step is to export that raster or image to something called a polygon layer. That just is little shapes, essentially. And we do that by class name so that we can identify what shape is what. That way it's not just a bunch of numbers on screen. This just helps us. And this is how we compute the percentage of tree canopy by zoning, by city limits, and by urban growth area. And then finally, after we export based on class name to a polygon layer, we end up exporting just the tree canopy, and that is all this yellow that you see right here. And that is from our machine learning model.
So once we have our new tree canopy, we can calculate or make all the calculations again. So for each of these zoning land use types, we can go in and calculate again the total acres in that area, the total canopy acres in that area, and then come up with percentages, and then look at the 2025 percentages against the 2020 canopy percentages and see how they're changing. So here it is in a table. We can also compare it to our 2040 goals. If you would like to see it in map, this is a map. So we have lost a lot of tree canopy. So the only area that we gained tree canopy was the other mixed use, so it's the darker green areas, so you can maybe kind of see kind of along I-5 or Little Rock, kind of that area. The Port of Olympia Airport area didn't change at all, not really a surprise there. And then everything else kind of lost. We have some considerations at the end to kind of explain why we might be seeing some of these things. So some of the things that we're seeing, this is images from 2020 and 2025. The red area represents the lost tree canopy. So there were some trees where the Costco distribution warehouse now is. So that's a huge warehouse. So that's explains some of that tree loss. There's the L&I lab. A bunch of trees were cut down to build that. This,
I don't remember what development that is, but it's on Tilly Road.
I think it's maybe the warehouse or something, I'm not sure, but, and then we have a lot of residential developments as well. Timmy Loop, I don't know what this is.
I can't remember what that one's called either, but yes, it's new. Yeah.
That's the one over on Kearsarge Village Loop.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then Tumwater Boulevard and, wherever that 68th Loop
Yep.
one is.
Yeah.
So lots of residential, so lots of development. For the new canopy that we're seeing, which is shown in the yellow, from just kind of our glancing at it, what we're seeing is kind of just filling in areas that it wasn't capturing last time. So not necessarily areas where a lot of trees are being planted, but the canopy is just kind of, trees are growing bigger. The canopy is kind of expanding where we already have trees. So we have some considerations on why we might be seeing some of these changes. I'll let Georgie start.
Yeah, thanks. So there are some limitations when you're doing an analysis of this kind using a machine learning model to classify instead of going in by hand and picking out every little bit of tree canopy. So it often will misclassify shadows as water or tree canopy. This happened also in 2020 when we ran it the first time. Buildings and roads are really similar when you're looking at it top down. They have the same kind of grayish color of roofs to roads, so that was a big challenge. And then also, tall shrubs or grass can also be misclassified as trees, and this I have found is really dependent on when the image was captured. Like, the later in the summer, the easier it is to tell them apart. Grass will start to die. The earlier in the spring that your image comes from, things are fresh and green, we're still getting a lot of rain, so that can account for some of that. And then it also does take a very long time to train, retrain again, add more training samples, all those different parts, steps 4 through 7, that does take a while. So just important to be cognizant of the time so we can have everything done in time.
Although not nearly as long as it would take to.
Oh, yes, drawing it out by hand, I don't even want to think about how long that would take.
So some other things to think about, in 2020, when we did this, we also split it out based on developed, undeveloped, and undevelopable areas. I'm sorry, my voice.
It's
Yeah,
hard.
And we got that data from TRPC, which is the Thurston Regional Planning Council, sorry. And they actually gave it to us in spatial files, so this exact area is developed, this exact area. But this time they gave us a table and it was by parcel. So we're like, okay, this 700-acre parcel, 300 acres of it is developed, 200 is undeveloped, and 200 is undevelopable. But we don't know where those acres are, so we can't compare, put the tree canopy over it and say which parts of those are where. So we had no way of calculating that this time. But back in 2020, we did notice that in the urban forestry management plan, they had grouped them all back together anyway, so we thought, well, that's probably okay. Last time we used LiDAR to help us distinguish. So LiDAR kind of shoots a point down and will give you different readings on what the bare earth elevation is, and then it kind of can identify like the top of a tree, for example. So it tells you how tall tree canopy is. So we use that to help us determine differences between like grass and trees, for example. We didn't have updated LiDAR available this time, so we kind of had to do it without that. LiDAR's really expensive to gather. The state was working on a project. They've had some budget cuts and some programs that kind of were paused temporarily. So we had to do without that. We had differences in resolution on our images. So that means back in 2020, the image that we used, each pixel or each little square in the image represented 6 inches by 6 inches on the ground. And so we could get a lot more detailed. This year, the image that we had access to was 19 inches by 19 inches for each pixel. So that maybe groups some things more broadly than the last image we used. The capture time differences, so the 2020 image was captured in July, and the 2025 image was captured in April. So it didn't have a chance to fully leaf out, so you might be, some of that loss we might be seeing is from the tree canopy not being all leafed out. And zoning changes. So we have had a few zoning changes. So some acres that used to be in one zone might have switched to a different zone. So some zones may have gained acres of tree canopy or lost acres of tree canopy due to just switching zones, if that makes sense. So that is our presentation. We encourage you to have discussion about this. If you have any questions for us, if you want to go look more at any of the slides, let us know.
didn't see the 2040 goal that you have. It's also in your packet, one of the last pages.
Oh.
I don't know if I can really make this up.
We have a problem, thank you.
Do we have a policy to get LiDAR, like, completed on a regular basis, or?
The jurisdiction does not get LiDAR. It's done it's an airplane that captures it. We purchased the data.
Oh, okay. Is it done like regularly and?
Sounds like it was, but the state cut some funding.
It wasn't done regularly. So we had, like, the county had a project where we got some LiDAR from in 2011. And then the next data we got, we had our own aerial photo flight done, and they gave us some LiDAR, but it was just kind of, a byproduct. Like, they didn't really, go into too much depth with it in 2018, which is what we used last time. And they're supposed to be, they have a project to get LiDAR, like high resolution LiDAR for the whole state. And that's kind of, I think ours is coming up, but we don't have it yet. So they will be doing it again, or doing it in our area hopefully soon, unless that got cut from budgets or anything, but
Really expensive,
it's really expensive. Yeah,
but it is the best.
Mm-hmm.
it is, yeah.
Plus, this gave us some really good data.
Yeah.
I worked very hard on it.
I'm surprised. Like, are the computers strong enough to like process all that data, or?
It's much better now than it was 5 years ago. 5 years ago, we had it running for like 7 days straight to process. This time, it's, much, much faster.
Although that probably had part to do with the pixel size being bigger, so it
Mhm.
didn't have to.
Exactly, yeah, increased by over 3 times as much, so less resolution.
To give some context, if this helps, canopy coverage for a whole municipality, the magic number typically is around 30%. You have over 30% canopy coverage in a municipality, you're doing a pretty good job. So, I know that's a starking difference between 2020 to 2025, but we still have a great canopy coverage. So, I mean, that number is like, it's striking. It's, that's a difference, but at the same time, we're gonna be okay, and, it just puts more emphasis to protect the trees we have.
Well, and I wonder, like the residential developments, commercial developments, they're planting trees.
Yeah, those take time.
Yeah, 5 years.
Right.
maybe enough.
Take 20 years really before you start getting benefits from those trees and communities. So, again, just adds emphasis to protect what we have and let what we have mature, and that number's probably gonna go down again, but then it'll start going back up.
And the canopy percentage that we had specified in the, that's just like public property, right? That isn't private property?
The goals are for the urban and community forest, including
Okay.
private property as well.
The goal is to, identifying areas, neighborhoods that have poor canopy coverage, eventually, maybe next year, year after, soon, though, it's in the urban forest, plan. And start, going around and encouraging people or helping people plant more trees. So, these are all things that we're gonna start exploring.
And some of the zones, may change with the new comprehensive plan,
Yes.
which will make this complicated next time around as well. It's hard to compare from the baseline to the current.
Sorry.
No.
You're doing a great job.
They're like,
40, a little ways out, like, that's more. But, will they,
Are we gonna, annex the
Yeah.
UGA? That is not up to me, and I'm not told.
Yeah.
I know we do occasionally.
these numbers are just based
This is,
This includes the UGA.
doesn't include
That, I don't know if they if they plan on expanding the UGA at all. I've been told no, but that could change, is what I've been told, so.
And a lot of the UGA, especially, you know, think about like down on 93rd, those are some massive, massive places that have gone down there. Amy Street, all that, so, you know, that's, you know, a big part of that change, so.
But a lot of those areas were just grass too.
Yeah.
We are a community that has forest and prairie.
Yeah.
Naturally occurring ecosystem.
We don't really have we haven't set aside prairie.
Not yet. We did get allocated some funding in the two legislative sessions ago for that, but I think we're still waiting on the federal government to approve the habitat conservation plan. Once they do, then I believe we'll be purchasing property for. One zoning change that will happen, for instance, as I understand, we are not gonna have single-family residential in the future. We'll have low-density residential.
Mhm.
That is like synonymous, or we'll have some conversations about that, I'm sure.
Yeah.
Any changes to the goals based on the changes to zoning.
Right. I know that, they were combining a lot of because we had, so this has already been combined a little bit, so, it might correlate better. For example, in the single-family residential, that includes single-family low density, single-family medium density, mobile home parks, and something else I can't. So they are combining some of those, you know, single-family, low and medium into just single-family, I think, or I'm not exactly sure, but
The thing to,
yeah, I think it hopefully should still, you know, correlate pretty well, but yeah, we'll see once we get the final.
one of the goals that I want to point out here is that some are increasing. The goals are to grow the canopy. Some know that the land use will reduce the canopy. Most notably, the Port of Olympia industry properties, where currently at 40, but the goal is 25. So we realize that we're going to accept some losses there because the trees that are present, but also the intended land use area. Others are higher than what we have. Some are on par with what we have. The balance thing that Brad is always talking about. We have lots of different needs as a jurisdiction and lots of different state requirements. That allows us to navigate, but still try to keep a citywide canopy better than average. Given that we're a population of 26,000 people,
Yeah.
huge.
Well,
Probably was fun to do that. I mean,
It's fun at times, but frustrating at others.
Apologize if you feel rushed at any point. We had put this on the agenda at the beginning of the year.
Yeah.
We have to do it by September.
No.
It's probably, I wonder, AI probably.
Particular method that they're using.
Yeah, the machine learning is a type of AI.
Mhm.
So it's, you know, the computer's kind of deciding what things are, and then we go in and say, yep, that's right. No, you're wrong here. Okay. Let me give you some more examples. Okay, try again.
Yeah. Yeah, but hopefully it will become easier, and maybe, hopefully next time we'll be able to have a higher resolution photo to work on too.
And there are, there've been a lot of technology changes since last time. A lot of companies now create tree canopies, you know, using, AI or using machine learning methods, you know, that is a possibility to think about purchasing the final product in the future. But, we wanted to do our own so that we knew that we were using the same methodology. We don't know how they do theirs, but, I mean, that is something to think about in the future if that's something that.
We're just the experts in GIS.
But there are a lot of different places, and it's, you know, a lot of different sources of data, and it's all different quality and.
Do we know this is similar to how the tree canopy was calculated for the urban forestry?
It was the same methods and the same people.
The exact same people.
Yeah. Really?
Same person.
We wrote the manual.
We're happy to be on time and that we have replicable methods and people who know how to do them. Lord knows I could not do what you all were describing.
You could.
We
Anyone could, yeah.
printed out grid and done it by hand.
Yeah, oh my
So,
gosh.
Yeah, that was like 45 to me, that was like 45% to you.
If I had a month to do nothing but that, I would, but.
A month, I was thinking like, well, let's start now for the.
Yeah, for next year, yeah.
I'm proud that we've been able to keep up with the time frame for doing the inventory. Many, or the tree canopy assessment, many jurisdictions in Washington may have set targets to do it at a certain cadence and are not able to follow through because they don't have the in-house staff and methodology. We're very lucky to have our GIS staff who is able to keep the target for this fraction.
Well, some of the inventory work that you're doing, is that gonna like be able to be translated?
Yes, we're still working on all that. We have a long ways to go, but we have a lot of data to collect. My first few years on the job is gonna be collecting the information, just to kind of really understand stuff. So, yeah, no, that's a great question. But I can't really answer it all that well right now.
For the benefit,
Yeah,
just for the benefit of people that might be watching this recording, there's a difference between a tree canopy assessment and a tree inventory.
yes,
The tree canopy assessment is looking at the percentage canopy cover in a jurisdiction from a bird's eye view of aerial photography. And a tree inventory is the on-the-ground work where you're literally touching the tree and measuring it and identifying the species and getting more information. It's definitely a GPS or a GIS point for that location, but they're two different things that can talk to one another, but two different.
yeah.
Yeah,
Like,
what
once we get the inventory of like areas that trees that were planted last like 5 years, and expect those canopies to grow, you know, it just helps us answer all these questions that we have.
And it may be something that we can use the tree inventory to kind of compare how the classifier is doing and saying, okay, it said this is tree canopy, but we're not showing any trees here. It might be grass, or it's saying this is grass. Do we have any trees here? And so we might be able to use that too, instead of LiDAR if we don't have it.
Ground truthing once removed.
Yeah, yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Any other questions or discussion?
What did they ever do with or is that in City Hall, you know, it shows the actual boundary of Tumwater?
Oh, we have many maps
Yeah,
throughout
but I
the.
mean, that big one, you know,
The aerial photo map,
Yeah.
yeah, I think they took a lot of those down. I'm not sure why.
Have one downstairs.
We always.
Can look at it.
as we annex, you know, some of those areas like south of Strasburg Road, and a lot of swamp,
Mm-hmm.
poor quality land that's in the city. Tough to quantify what's even out there. Ground truth, you can't hardly get there anyway.
Not without mud in your boots.
And then there's some real dandy areas north of Strasburg Road also.
with wetlands.
A whole other thing to do assessments for.
Yes.
So there is an up-to-date someplace photo or,
I don't know
Of the-
if we printed the most up-to-date aerial imagery with the,
no, I mean, just where the line was.
Oh, an overview of the city limits?
Yeah.
Yeah, we have online maps that will show that. Thank you. Good thing we left this tab open. You
There
can,
used to be one at City Hall,
Yeah, in the,
very informational.
yeah.
so this, turn it off. Excuse me. I'll zoom in a second. There we go, okay. So, this shows city limits with a long dash line. Okay, and then, urban growth area with this short dash
Does that go
line.
down to 93rd?
Yep,
Is that 93rd?
that's
Yep,
93rd
this is
down there.
93rd right
Yeah,
here.
okay.
But this is our most up-to-date city limits and urban growth area. So, and then as you zoom in,
Is it Indian land down there at 93rd? Is that in the city of Tumwater?
Yep,
it's in the city of Tumwater, but it's sovereign owned.
yeah.
And so our rules don't apply, but it's in the city, but it's sovereign land.
Oh,
but this is, you can access this, on the City of Tumwater website. If you search for GIS, there'll be some links.
That's a wonderful.
Track there for tree trees.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, I should.
Yeah, a lot of those are not ours.
Yeah,
That looks nice.
That's what, not ours, not our responsibility.
Yeah, so that's what Brian's working on now, trying to figure out which ones are.
What are we responsible
What are we
for?
responsible?
Mhm.
So were those the trees that gathered during the,
2018. Plus, new trees added, by our lovely GIS staff when we have new developments, that go in. Those are put in as undetermined, right?
Unassigned.
Unassigned, because
I can't identify it unless it has a tag
I
on
don't
it.
know about trees.
So-
Brian only started in May.
Yeah. So once we're done with the city responsible trees, depending on how smoothly it goes and everything, we'll then move on to identifying parks, stuff like that. And eventually, I'd like to start going out and mapping all of our HOAs and our private property, you know, trees in front of businesses that are along Trosper, that are not ours, you know, just to grow it over maybe 3 or 4 years, however long it takes. We have a kind of a comprehensive idea of what trees we have where. So when things come to us, we can, you know, click layers and search and know like, oh, 20% of our canopy is Acer, you know, or something like that. So eventually, we'll make it throughout the whole city, but right now it's trying to figure out what the city.
Good.
Okay, our next meeting date is 11/10/25. Are we gonna do it in 2025?
Oh, I had a typo? Oh.
25.
We'll do it in
Oh,
2025.
Year
My-
25.
I apologize.
I think so, yeah.
Yeah, it was, yeah, I
All
can
humans
remember.
make mistakes.
Yeah. I think that song's about robots.
I just
noticed it when I was reading.
I'm glad someone noticed it, and, but yes, and
Okay,
at
so-
that meeting, we'll do our annual, like, update on the urban forestry management plan implementation, as well as you'll get a sneak peek of Brian and I's work plans for next year. Now that we have the upcoming, comprehensive plan update, we need to bring our work plans through, city council for approval, to say, yes, you can work on these things. And we're gonna start with you because urban forestry is part of the work.
Awesome. Thanks for coming in,
Of course.
sharing that with us. Okay, I'm going to make a motion to adjourn this meeting. All in favor, say aye. Aye.
Anybody opposed?
Have we ever ended this early before?
Used to.
Right, click the X.